Hey, George, now to those tensions running high after the police killed an unarmed black man, Stephon Clark. Protesters taking to the streets in Sacramento again last night and across the country, including right here in New York City. ABC's Kana Whitworth is in Sacramento with the latest. Good morning, Kana.
Robin, good morning. An emergency interfaith town hall meeting was held last night after another day of protests. California Highway Patrol blocking demonstrators from getting on the highway. This as the family of Stephon Clark is planning for his funeral right here today. Protesters gathered outside the defense attorney's office, blocking off streets in their cars, calling for justice and accountability in the shooting death of Stephon Clark.
I have a 12-year-old baby in here. This is peaceful.
His family and friends with a similar plea as they prepare to say goodbye.
We want justice, that's all. I just got up out my bed. I'm very sick, but I'm here for my nephew. And I'm trying not to cry, you know what I mean? But it hurts.
Emotions running high. Clark's brother confrontational once again, having to be carried into the wake and issuing an apology to the mayor just one day after he interrupted the city council meeting with demonstrators Tuesday. He later apologized.
That's why I came here to apologize to the mayor.
Police plan on releasing more video of the March 18th incident that the Police Officers Association now says was justified, adding the 22-year-old took a shooting stance before officers shot at him 20 times, killing him. Clark's death refocusing the national spotlight once again on gun violence against black men by police officers and the calls for change spreading coast to coast. The White House calling the national outrage a local matter.
And that's something that we feel should be left up to the local authorities at this point in time.
Overnight, hundreds taking to the streets in New York City, with the NYPD arresting 11 people. Here in Sacramento, Clark's funeral is scheduled to begin at 11 and go until 1. It is open to the public, and the Reverend Al Sharpton will deliver the eulogy. Robin?
We have to keep in mind again that his funeral is today, as well as you said earlier. Thank you, Kana.
Okay, Rob, we're going to go overseas now.
The funeral for Stephon Clark will take place today in Sacramento. Police shot and killed the 22-year-old on March 18th. They mistakenly thought he had a gun. Clark's death led to days of intense protests that spread last night to New York City. Jamie Yukas is in Sacramento with today's funeral plans. Jamie, good morning.
Good morning. Clark's funeral will be held here at Boss Church. It's open to the public. Civil rights leader Reverend Al Sharpton will deliver the eulogy. In it, he's expected to talk about Clark's life and how his death is playing into the national debate about perceived injustice and police shootings.
This latest protest over the police killing of Stephon Clark started at the Sacramento County District Attorney's office before quickly evolving into a march through the city's streets. Activists blocked traffic at a busy downtown intersection during rush hour. In New York City Wednesday, demonstrators made their way from Columbus Circle to Times Square. Police detained nearly a dozen people when protests turned violent. It's been almost 2 weeks since Clark was shot dead in his grandparents' backyard after police thought he was vandalizing property. Officers believed the father of two had a gun. He had a cell phone. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said on Wednesday that the administration does not plan to get involved in the matter.
The president's very supportive of law enforcement, but at the same time, in these specific cases, in these specific instances, those would be left up to local authorities to make that determination and not something for the federal government to weigh into.
Benjamin Crump is a civil rights attorney representing the Clark family.
I completely disagree with the White House press secretary and anybody else who is trying to marginalize this to just a local matter. This is a national issue. We must solve it as Americans.
Crump also tells CBS this morning that while the family is grateful to the protesters, they want today to be peaceful and a celebration of Clark's life. The family also plans to release its own evaluation of autopsy results in coming days.
Yeah, there are still a lot of questions about that. It is interesting the tactic appears to be changing to make this a local issue. When clearly, when you look at all the incidents around the country, this is a national problem. It's
There's
an
a
issue.
pattern, yeah.
There is a pattern, and it seems more not so much about black and white, although that seems to be certainly part of it, but how about right and wrong?
Yeah.
It's very disturbing on many levels.
Right, our thanks
Glad we're on top of this story.
Our thanks to Jamie Yuccas.
That's right.